In 30 seconds, you will be witness to one of the greatest online events in the history of, well, online events. Descript proudly brings to you a topic that you deeply care about and whose name is the title of this online event. I'm Don. I am not your host. I am an Overdub stock voice included for free with Descript. So, now, let's meet someone who actually works here.
Hey, Jack.
Hey, Harmony. How are you? And welcome to all of you, our guests, in our first ever installment of Descript at Work. So, if you see what we did there with the pun, we work with a lot of teams that are using Descript in their jobs and their company workflows, and excited to kick off this series with all of you today. So, in this session, we're going to be talking a lot about learning and development teams, specifically how they're supercharging their workflows with the screen recorder, our video editing capabilities, and especially Overdub. A lot of people out there need high quality text to speech or need to keep their content evergreen. And those are some things that you'll learn in today's session. So stick with it. There's a lot of cool stuff. We've got free month codes coming to attendees. We've got the chance to book a meeting with us and talk through your workflows, get to know you. So a lot of awesome stuff coming today. Should we get started with some introductions, Harmony?
Yeah, Jack, let's dig right on in.
All right, sounds great. So my name's Jack. I work on the sales and business development team here at Descript. My background actually in corporate marketing. I did a lot of internal communications as part of it. And now that I work at Descript, I think, man, I really wish I had Descript because it would have made a lot of my workflows easier for sure. But Harmony, we've been talking about learning and training a lot. You're the expert here. I'd love to learn a little bit more and share with our guests about what you've worked on.
Thanks, Jack. Yeah. So, hey, everyone. My name is Harmony. I've been at Descript a little over a year now. I'm a customer success manager and product specialist. And before I was at Descript, my background is in e-learning, as Jack mentioned. Before I was a learning management system administrator, building certification programs and compliance programs. I used tools like Camtasia to create, screen recordings, and wished I had something like Descript to be able to quickly capture my screen, record webinars, and then repurpose it later on. And then even before that, I was creating online courses for a startup, and I was doing all of our transcription by hand. So I can't tell you how much I wish I had a tool like Descript to be able to automatically caption all of our courses and then make those available. So here we are today.
Yeah, all you have to do is do a transcription by hand once, and you'll never want to do it by hand again, for sure.
Never again. I will always use Descript now.
Well, we've got a bunch of cool stuff to show you today about, like I said, screen recorder, transcription, working in teams, which I know a lot of you all are working in teams and working in teams of 5 to 20 people. Would love to know how big are your teams? How many employees are you creating content for? Because I think there's a lot of teams out there that are creating for thousands of people and have to keep all that content up to date. And it's I think a unique challenge that Descript is really well positioned to help with. So Harmony, I know you used to work for a company. Same thing, thousands of people, small team, and got to turn things around quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah, the company I was at, we were building compliance training for 14,000 plus employees. So, the thing, especially with keeping all of our HR content up to date, we have policies that change, laws that change on an annual basis. And, you need to be able to go in and update those courses so that you're rolling out accurate content every year.
And we work with a lot of L&D teams now. Harmony, what are some of the teams that we're working with? What are they focusing on? Same kind of stuff, or have you seen some unique challenges as part of that?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of, we work with small, medium, large size teams. So, thinking about our friends at UiPath, Akamai, Cloudinary, but all are focusing kind of around sort of four main central focal points. And I think that's primarily what we're going to focus on today. So one is just, team collaboration and efficiency. Like, obviously you're going to be working with multiple tools. Wouldn't it be so nice if they could actually talk to each other sometimes, right? So we'll talk a little bit about organizing your tech stack and how you can facilitate that collaboration directly in Descript. The other thing too is that there's, you're probably working with tools like Camtasia or other screen recording tools. So today we're going to give you a very close look at how to quickly create screen recordings and then even add them to existing projects to keep those up to date. And then there's the editing piece, right? Like, as a content designer, like I'm not professionally trained in a tool like Premiere, so being able to edit from something like a Word document, have those changes affect your underlying audio and video is huge. And then the last and fourth piece of this is like, how do you keep it up to date, right? So there were so many times where I'd have to go back and re-record the same content over and over. And so if I had just had something like this tool, Overdub, that we're going to be talking about, this is our synthetic voice tool that allows you to go in, make contextual corrections, let's say on a single word. It really saves you a lot of time. So, and for these companies that we're working with, they're creating everything from like short, training videos and tutorials to full length, certification programs. Internal podcasts are a big one. Folks are creating company webinars and then later repurposing them or making them available on your intranet. And then just ad hoc educational materials too. You might be needing to create internal training materials, but then also stuff that you're publishing out for folks outside of your company. So there's a ton that you can do. Please ask questions along the way. This hour is yours, so we're excited to dig in a bit further.
Yeah, and there's some awesome ways that you can work with other people in the space as well too. We have a Discord. Feel free to join that. We have a new Teams channel, which is great for chatting and figuring out how other teams are using it, how they're solving their problems in their workflow, and how Descript is playing an integral part of that. So I think now that we've kind of gone through some of the setup and introduction, Harmony, maybe we should get to the good stuff and then start showing people around a little bit. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
Awesome.
So I'm going to just go ahead and share my screen and we're just going to dive right in. And as I mentioned, like throw questions in the chat and we'll spend plenty of time at the end, hopefully getting to some larger themes and questions that you have. So for folks that have already tuned in, you might be asking if you're new to Descript and you're not quite sure what it is yet. Jack, do you want to give them the 30,000 foot view?
Yeah, I always tell people we are a tool that makes editing, recording, transcribing, creating new content as easy as working with a Word document. So that means editing audio, that means editing video, and of course some cool AI-powered tools like Overdub or our studio sound feature, which enables you to produce professional content with a level of power and simplicity that maybe you've never had the chance to work with before. So there's a lot of complicated tools out there, but Overdub or Descript and Overdub are built to make it easy. And I think that's always what makes me excited to show it to people. So it might not look like a Word document quite yet as we're here in our overall Drive view. But once we dive in, you'll see that for sure.
We'll get there. Yeah, I want to first sort of set the stage in terms of what your collaborative sort of joint workspace is going to look like, and just kind of set up the general hierarchy of how Descript works. You're going to hear Jack and I use the Google Drive, Google Docs analogy quite a bit. So let's start here. So if you're opening up Descript for the first time, you're getting your account set up. This is what you're going to see. This is your Drive view. essentially your bird's eye view of everything that's going on in Descript. So over on the right, to break it down in really simple terms, over on the right, this is where all of your stuff is. This is where all of your projects are going to exist. You can keep these projects easily organized with folders. So you might create, sort of parent folders for, let's say, your HR internal training, and then create some subfolders for, let's say, workplace violence, information security, so on and so forth. And the nice thing too is that you can pin these folders to the sidebar. So for frequently access material, you can pin those so you can go right to them if you're using those on a daily basis. And then over here on the left, this is your left sidebar where you're going to see a couple of different things. First off, on the top left-hand corner, you have some filtered views. So home is going to be a mix of any and all projects that you have access to. You're going to see projects that get created by you, projects that are shared with you, and then also projects that are downloaded locally to your machine. So I should have prefaced this by saying is that Descript is a cloud-based app that you download locally to your machine. There are some features and aspects of the system that you can access in browser. So you can do everything that you're seeing right here in browser. You can view projects, you can comment on them, you can do user management. But then once you're ready to start making edits, that's when you'll need to jump into the app.
And those cloud-based workflows are really powerful. A lot of older technology, wasn't kind of built with the cloud and collaboration in mind. And I think that's one great thing about for L&D teams in particular. You're communicating with so many different people internally. You're communicating with your own team back and forth all the time. And things like the way the Drive can collaborate, the folders, the immediate updates, they make a big difference for a lot of teams.
100%. Yeah. For example, if I was working on, let's say, a collection of courses that I needed to get over to my instructional design team, the nice thing is that all they have to do is pop into that folder where all of those projects are, and open them right here in the app. There's none of that, like, let's download the file or upload the files and then download them. It's just kind of like a one-stop shop for your teams that are collaborating together. Sorry, go ahead, Jack.
I was going to say, Harmony, let's start adding some teammates and
I was going to say,
folders and diving in. Let's go wild here.
Okay, so the first the first thing that I want to show you is, so if you're the manager of your team, your admin, here I can add members to my Drive Workspace. So I'm gonna, if you hover over View All Members or click on this little plus button, this will take you to your member management. So as the admin of this Drive, I can manage existing folks that have access. And this will be a good opportunity to kind of talk about the differences in membership types. So you have an editor role, which is a paid seat, and these users can transcribe, edit, export, all the full Descript buffet access. Then you have what we call basic members, and these are members that are free, and they can view, listen, and comment, but they can't edit. So this is great if you're working with subject matter experts and you just need to send something off for a quick review. They can comment on it and give you feedback, and then they don't necessarily need to take up a paid seat, but they've been able to provide you meaningful feedback in the meantime. So I'm going to go ahead and actually add a couple. I'm going to downgrade Kevin to a basic member. Sorry, Kevin. And then I'm actually going to add my awesome colleague, Christiana, to my Drive. And add that extra A. I can also send Christiana a message. Welcome to my Drive. Get started in the L&D folder. So you can give them a little bit of direction even before they jump in, so they know where to start. I'm going to add Christiana. And so now I've been able to add Christiana to my Drive. And if I should be able to see that she's been invited. And then if I need to resend that invitation for whatever reason, I can do that, all of that here from my admin dashboard. Jack, anything else about editor or basic members that we should mention?
And I think one great thing about basic members is that screen recording and transcription are free on that as well. So great way. We talked about working with subject matter experts, but a lot of them might need to send you a screen recording back and forth, or they might need to do a walkthrough of a video because they know exactly what's going on. You can take that video, replace, polish the transcript with Overdub, and but they can, collaborate with you right there in the app and very easily.
Absolutely. So once you have all of your team members invited to the Drive, now that they've been added here, they'll be able to see anything that's been stored or added to this Drive workspace. So we have two workspaces. The Drive workspace is your collaborative shared workspace. And then my workspace is going to be your private workspace. So if you have, let's say, a tutorial or webinar that's kind of like a work in progress, but you don't need to share it with the team quite yet, keep it in your private workspace, my workspace. And then you can always later on move that over to the shared team workspace. So if you click on the add ellipses, move to, back out and put it in that Drive workspace folder. And then you can even designate the folder that you want to drop it into. And so if I pop back to my Drive workspace, I might be ready to kind of start building out my folder structure. And so that's something for you to decide as a team, like what is going to be the best naming conventions and folder structures to set you up for success. So I might go into my HR compliance folder and set up some subfolders here. So I might have one for information security. I might have another one for workplace violence, so go ahead and set up that initial structure. That way, when you start inviting members, there's already this sort of existing structure that people can start working from right away. Let's see here. And then the other thing too, we're talking about adding people at the Drive level. We'll also talk about adding users at the project level. So if you don't necessarily need someone to have access to your entire library of learning content, you can invite someone just to an individual project without giving them full keys to your Drive workspace. Let's see here. Jack, anything else about sort of the Drive experience, or should we dive into working on a project?
One thing I'll say here is that the number of folders and the amount of storage you can use in Descript is unlimited. So that's a huge boost for a lot of teams as well. You don't have to play the file sharing game or worry about, is this going to take up too much space? This is another thing that we talk about with those cloud-based workflows. Can make a huge difference for a lot of teams just to feel confident throwing a whole course in there and getting started right away. So no limits on project storage or anything like that. I will say, don't make a project that's too big. Don't try and cut the entire Avengers trilogy in Descript or other 4 Avengers movies. I guess this is showing my age here. But I think that's one cool thing to know about Descript. So, I think let's get into the projects.
Awesome. So I have something kind of ready for us to work from that's already built out. But for folks that are starting from scratch, that are ready to import some material or start creating screen recordings, you'll just want to click on this new blue button here. From here, you can generate a project, and a project can be made up of multiple videos or audio files, and we'll get into the sort of the hierarchy there. And then you can also create a screen or camera recording right from this view as well. And then if you're on a Mac machine, you can actually start a screen recording right from here in the top menu. And then for PCs or for Windows, that's going to be at the bottom of your screen in your taskbar. So just wanted to mention the difference between the two. But I have this webinar here. And my intro that I made for this, it was kind of old. Like it needs a facelift for sure. But the meat and potatoes are there of the training. I just need to kind of make some fixes at the beginning and the end. So I've got my demo here, and I just want to explain a little bit of what you're seeing here on screen. So I've got this script area. And this is where I can actually start making edits to my video. I can do things like go in and, even just highlight an entire sentence, highlight it, delete it, and that removes the underlying audio and video. So I'll go ahead and play this real quick just so you can kind of get a sense of how this works.
Which will give you the speed and the ability to manage your audio and video.
Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that again. And so what it'll do is it'll just transition from this sentence here.
Automatically transcribe it for you. Now I'm going to identify.
Cool. So you see it just jumped right to that next section. So I'll go ahead and undo. But as a first step, I want to create a screen recording because we need a new intro for this. So I'm going to go up here to my Descript icon. And you'll notice you can choose either you're going to record your screen or you can switch to a camera. Hey there. I'm just gonna do a normal camera recording, but if you were to do your screen, you can decide if you want your a little camera to show in the bottom left-hand corner, or you can move this around to wherever you'd like. You can switch to a circle, change the size. Oh goodness, no one needs that. You can record your computer sound and it will automatically transcribe and also apply what we call studio sound, which makes you sound like you're talking close up to a mic in a really nice studio. And we'll get into some of the effects in a little bit. But let's go ahead and record a quick camera recording here. And hey everyone, today we are joined with Jack and we're going to be talking about training and learning concepts using Descript. We're going to talk a little bit about transcription, screen recording, and overdub, right? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop here. Cool. So still hearing everything on your end, Jack?
Nothing's broken so far. So.
Nothing's broken yet. This is always good for a demo. So very cool. So you finish creating a screen recording, you push stop, you're going to get the quick edit modal. You'll be able to quickly review the content that you just recorded. It's pointing out that I use filler words way too much, so I'm actually going to zap those right away. You'll notice by doing that, it's automatically removed any filler words. It'll create little edit points where I've made those removals. And I think I flubbed a little bit here, so I'm going to listen back really quick and make any corrections I need to before I add it.
Today, we are joined with Jack, and we're going to be talking about training and learning concepts using Descript. We're going to talk a little bit about transcription, screen recording, and overdub, right? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop.
All right, so I definitely don't need this, so I'm going to get rid of that too. Delete. And I don't need the word right at all, so I'm going to get rid of that. All right, so now all I have to do, you can do this in a couple of different ways. I'm just going to highlight this text. And actually, I'm going to add my speaker label too. So I want folks to know that's me speaking. And then I'm going to highlight it. And you can also use this clip to your clipboard, and that will automatically copy it. And now I'm going to come over into my project that I want to add this new intro to, and I'm going to paste that right on in. All right, so now that has automatically carried that video and audio over into my new project. And then the goal is that it's just going to seamlessly transition into this first part of the demo. So let's see how we did.
We're going to talk a little bit about transcription, screen recording, and overdub. Let's start with input.
Okay, so I could probably clean this up a little bit more, right, Jack? What should we do here?
Well, I will say, you sound so good. That's got to be studio sound, right?
That's got to be studio sound. So, do you want to tell folks what studio sound is exactly?
Yeah, it's built to make any recording that you make sound just like you're in a podcast studio with the most professional top-of-the-line equipment you can get out there. So you can see it's great for even applications like this, where maybe I'm working from home, maybe I'm in a busy office, maybe I've got to record something. Maybe just right into my iPhone on a voice memo. You can make it sound crisp and crystal clear.
100%. I love studio sound because, like, we're in my living room. It's kind of boomy. Animals are always walking by, so I need to get rid of that too. So you'll notice if you open up the inspector here, this is where you can turn this feature on and off, so you can hear the difference with studio sound on and off. You can also dial back the intensity. I usually sound a little bit better around like 80 something %. So you give that a test. If you have it turned up too much, you might sound like you're underwater. So I usually like to dial it back a little bit.
And Harmony, we're also getting some questions about how do we make sure the transcript is accurate when we record something or when we bring something in, and how do we clean up the transcript when we've recorded something like this? What if the transcript gets a word wrong?
Absolutely. So great question. So in this case, I might want to, everything was spelled correctly here, but maybe it didn't, in the case that, let's say, Descript doesn't get transcribed correctly, you can highlight the word, and then you'll notice that you'll get a prompt here saying use the E key to make a correction. So maybe I don't want to capitalize it, and then make that correction. This will allow you to make a correction just to the transcript without affecting the underlying audio or video. And then you can also, if you say correct, that'll fix it there. I also see that I've got a period here. I'll get rid of that. And in this case, if I want to push it back up to capital D, just hold down the Q key and click, and that you'll be able to go back and forth between undercase or uppercase and lowercase. And then the other thing you can do too is if you've highlighted that word, you've made a correction, you can also click on this icon here to enter correct text mode. So what that does is it allows you to go through and edit the entire transcript, just like you would with a Word doc, and make corrections without affecting the underlying audio and video. And I just noticed I stopped on the greatest frame here, so I'm gonna move to the next frame here. And then to get out of correct text mode, just click on that X, this green X here.
We got to be willing to embarrass ourselves a little bit, you know.
Always.
You know, when working with a lot of these learning and training things, one of the themes that emerges when I talk to teams like this is how do we make sure that our company specific terms, our brand names, our you know, our CEO's name, how do we make sure that's right? And Harmony, we have some tools for either the glossary or the correction wizard, ways to make you get through cleaning up a transcript or make your transcripts even more accurate.
Absolutely. Yeah. So generally, you know, if you have pretty decent audio, you can get up to about 95% accuracy. The better your audio quality, the better your transcription is going to be. And as we showed you, you can use the E key to make corrections to your transcript. But let's say we want to get ahead of this, and I'm going to open up, go to the D icon, go to the transcription glossary. This is a way for you to train the AI going forward by entering in common terms, acronyms, jargon that you might use in your training material. And the nice thing is that this is a shared glossary. So your entire team will be able to add to this. And then going forward, when automatic transcription runs, it will train from this glossary here. Did I miss anything about the glossary, Jack?
No, I think this is a great example of the way that, you know, you put one term in, or you put a product term or name or something like that in, and all of a sudden your transcripts just get that much more accurate. So this is a huge feature for teams working with a lot of specific acronyms or industry specific terms. Things like that are really great to use the transcription glossary for. And then for cleaning up your transcripts quickly, I think the correction wizard is an amazing workflow that can really help. You know, we talked about how painful it is to correct transcripts by hand, and the correction wizard makes it, I don't know, easy as a breeze, really.
It's so easy. And usually I like to just run this as soon as the initial automatic transcription finishes, before I even start making corrections to the transcript. So you can get here by, if you just click on this little wrench icon, select detect transcription errors. So what that's going to do is it's going to underline little sections in green where it thinks the AI transcription might have gone wrong. And you'll have an opportunity to audition each of those moments. You can either correct it or dismiss it, and it'll move to the next moment in time where it thinks it needs a correction. I'm not going to run this now because I don't want my project to slow down, but this is how you would go about running that wizard. And then you can literally get through, 80, 100 like moments in, I would say, less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, we found quickly in our internal testing that just by running that and making the corrections applied there, gets you above 98% accuracy. So really, really good. And in addition to that, we just shipped a new backend transcription engine that's even more accurate. So we talk about 95%. Obviously can't promise 100%. There's some things that we're going to drop from here and there, but making some big progress there. And there's some ways to work really quickly to get those transcripts accurate, which I know is huge for accessibility, especially in large, diverse organizations.
100%. Yeah, and the other thing, before we start talking a little bit about the pre-production workflows, one thing I just wanted to mention, we saw, like, if you highlight a word and need to correct it, you can use the E key. Now, what if I said the wrong word? Maybe I meant to say, instead of transcription, maybe I meant to say, let's see here, collaboration. I can highlight that word. I can use the D key to type in the word that I meant to say, and I'll actually go ahead and do that. Before you make the update, you'll just need to change your speaker label to your Overdub voice, and that way it knows which Overdub voice to use, and highlight that word. And I'm going to use the D key now. Collaboration, Overdub, and voila. So this is super helpful because like I'll make screen recordings and say like, look to the left of your screen. And I actually meant to say right. So this is where Descript's Overdub feature really comes in handy. We'll wait for that to finish off, but how about we start talking about pre-production?
Yeah, looks like that Overdub word just popped in. There's always a little bit of a moment where it's the thinking and creating from scratch.
Yeah.
So I know some people ask, how quickly does Overdub work? It's really amazing with as little as 10 minutes of your own recorded audio. You could save yourself hours of time with things like this because now you don't have to re-record, or especially if somebody lets you use their Overdub voice. You could create content in their voice, and they could be on vacation. They can be out of the office, and yet the stuff that they already created can keep moving ahead. So that's a huge workflow for teams too.
100%. Yeah, just to kind of pepper onto that, like oftentimes in my old role, like we work on refreshing our preventing sexual harassment training every year, and there would often be like sections where we needed to add our own sort of personalized section based on certain company policies and little additive things that needed to be included. So you could actually even use Overdub for this. You could do a whole section talking about this new policy. And if you don't have, let's say, video for it, you could just add the Overdub audio and then apply some slides, images that will kind of pair with that new audio. So that's a use case that we see that pops up here and there too. Let's see how this sounds here. No promises here.
We're going to talk a little bit about collaboration, screen recording, and Overdub. Let's start.
Okay, so it sounded pretty good.
Not so bad, yeah.
Not so bad. So little tip here, it's great for contextual fixes. If you're trying to fix an entire sentence, you might need to like add, throw on a slide just so that you don't see your mouth like, you want to make sure that it's matching fairly well, so you can always add some images or B-roll over those corrections. But let's go ahead and dive into some pre-production collaboration. So let's say I've gone through, I've started to clean this up, and so maybe I want to get Jack's feedback here in this first few sentences. So what I can do is I can highlight the section that I want to draw Jack's attention to. I'm going to click this little plus button here. Say, hey, Jack, should we add a title? And so now the nice thing is that Jack's actually going to get notified that he's been mentioned in this project. He can pop in, he can respond, he can, go ahead and make edits if he has editor permission, which he does. And so that's the nice thing, is that I can grab his attention, then I can keep working. And maybe I want to keep going through. Let's say here, we actually don't need this. So I'm going to strike that. And by striking, that will also create an edit point. It will remove that underlying audio and video, but Jack will be able to see these sort of editorial decisions that I'm making as I go through and further edit my training content here. Jack, what else? Anything else around commenting or tagging folks in projects?
Yeah, I think the commenting and the tagging and like there's so many ways that you can just have a conversation right here on your content. You don't have to have a Google Doc and a video side by side, or send and upload videos back and forth to Vimeo or YouTube or publish Descript over and over again. It's you can just work in real time right here. We're even shipping some improvements to this in the future. Eventually you'll be able to collaborate and see everybody's cursor and things like that. So those are some cool things we're working on. But yeah, I think, when you're talking about updating content, it's always a team working together. And then let's see if I post a comment here, you can see how quickly it, so I'm looking at my screen, you can see how quickly it'll work. So,
and while Jack's responding, I can go through and keep making edits, and you can also use this feature inline notes. So if you don't want to necessarily make a comment, but you want to leave a reminder for yourself, just open parentheses and start typing, and you'll notice that that's going to be in gray, and that indicates it's sort of like an internal note that won't get published in your transcript. So it's a nice way of leaving internal notes for your team members. And Jack, it looks like, hey, cool.
There we go. So easy.
Perfect. And then now that I've been able to get his feedback, I can now go and archive that comment. I can also always go back and view those comments by clicking on the comment sidebar, and I'm going to show archived comments. So you can always easily access those over time. The other thing too that I think is really important for teams that are collaborating is that you can view version history. So if, let's say, I need to go back and restore a revision that Jack was working on, from 2 weeks ago, I can easily do that. I can view that version. It'll tell me that I'm not in the latest version. I can also even right-click and restore that revision, or even create a new project from that revision. So fairly robust version history here. I'm going to jump back to the latest version now. Great. The last thing I'll say too, in terms of pre-production, maybe I want, in this initial video that I created, I also want to include Jack in the sign-off. And so what I might do is go to the end, and so it looks like I wrapped up talking about exporting. So now I'm just going to start scripting a little bit. Thanks for joining us today. Next session, we're going to cover screen recording and overdub. And you'll notice that when you're just scripting in Descript, it's going to be in blue. So this is a great way to just use it for basic outlining or in-depth scripting. And then the cool thing too is that now I can actually put this in Jack's voice. And I can only do this because Jack has expressly shared his overdub voice with me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have access to it. So let me I'm going to switch here. Where are you, Jack? There you are. And so now it's going to start generating in Jack's overdub voice.
And we'll see how this sounds. Yeah, do I sound realistic enough? No, I think that this can be really useful too, because maybe you're tasked with a project where you have to create something in a company executive's voice, or a subject matter expert's voice, and they're the voice of authority, and their overdub voice means a lot, right? So if they choose to share it with you and with their verification and their recorded consent, you can use these voices for people who might not have the time or might not have the ability to record something for you all the time. So I have plenty of time, but I like to think of myself as an important figure. So that's why Harmony uses my overdub voice here. So no, let's see how it sounds.
Let's hear it. So we're gonna transition from that last sentence into Jack.
Fine tuning. You can export a timeline into these different applications.
Thanks for joining us today. Next session, we're going to cover screen recording and overdub.
All right, sounded
Not
pretty
so bad.
good. Not so bad. And this is what I usually do if I'm just using an overdub voice and don't have any video. I usually like to add on my captions, so that way you can you have that auditory. You're feeding the auditory and visual learners here. So the way that I did that, just for folks that haven't used our caption feature yet, I'm going to delete that. All you have to do is highlight the text that you want to add captions to, and you're going to use my favorite keyboard shortcut. If you're on Mac, it's Command K. If you're on Windows, Control K. And I just start typing in the word captions, insert, and they've been added. So now I can reposition them. I can also, if I click here and go into the properties, I can change the font. This is actually really cool in that you can actually add custom fonts to your drive. And then anyone that is on your shared drive will be able to access those custom fonts. So if you're building, compliance courses, they all need to be on brand. So add those fonts there. You can change the fill color. You can add word level animation to kind of add that extra layer of engagement and accessibility. Let's see here.
And Harmony, to go back to Overdub quickly, if you wanted
Yeah.
to change a couple of things I was talking about, and I think we talk about this with keeping content evergreen, I've got this sentence that we created from scratch. What if we want to change a few words? How do we do that?
Yeah, just go ahead and highlight, let's say instead of screen recording in Overdub, highlight it, and we're going to instead just hit delete. What do you want to talk about? What should I add here, Jack?
Let's talk about collaboration, teamwork, and partnership.
Awesome. And so now it's going to catch up with us here. You'll notice that when new Overdub is being generated, it will underline in gray. There we go. Got it to kick off. And then once it's finished, that underline in gray will go away. So we'll just let it finish off here. And then we'll play it back and we'll hear that new dialogue.
We're playing the prices or the Jeopardy waiting music here. We couldn't get the rights to use it, so I'm just going to sing it right now. No, I'm joking. It takes a second for it to generate. So
okay, let's take a listen.
Thanks for joining us today. Next session, we're going to cover collaboration, teamwork, and partnership.
All right. And actually, I realized I needed to stretch my captions out a little bit longer because we had added some extra text there. Cool. Jack, I see a question. This is actually really awesome. I'd like to learn more about how security works in the Drive. For example, I'd like to only add certain admins to particular projects. Do you want to talk through that a little bit?
Yeah, I think this is a great place to talk about, not only when we were at the Drive level, we talked about how you could create things in your own workspace or in the team workspace, but on project levels too, I can invite specific team members as well up here in the share button in the top right. So this share button has how many people have access, where is this project located, if I want to invite somebody just to this project, or I realize, hey, somebody needs to join this Descript thing now that our company started using it, I can invite them right from here. So that share button up in the top corner can allow you to manage the permissions of who's looking at what, and have the right people in the right place. Easy way to manage your workflows right here.
Absolutely. And this button will also give you the option to, if you want to just share this project only, or give them access to the whole Drive. Now, and as I mentioned, if you're working with SMEs where they might only need access to a handful of projects or projects within just a certain set of folders, this is where giving them access on the per project basis really comes in handy as opposed to giving them full access to the team Drive. Great. Okay, I want to talk a little bit now that we've covered some pre-production workflows, getting in more into production. So let's say I want to take this particular training and I want to maybe repurpose it in ways later on. You'll notice that I have these markers in here, and these indicate just sort of different sections of the training. This is a nice way of it's kind of almost like adding chapters to your training. And the cool thing is that when you go to export, your markers will be included in either in your timeline or even in your, if you do like a page export, you'll be able to jump to different markers, kind of like you can in YouTube. So it's a nice way of organizing your materials by adding those. And all you have to do to add a marker, let's say I want to add an additional one here, just hit the M key and you'll be able to add that new marker. So nice way of breaking up your content. But let's say I want to take this whole section on screen recording. I'm going to open up my sidebar here. I just want to grab this. So I'm going to highlight it. And now I'm going to use this clip to composition option. This is this little pin. And what this is going to do is, let's say I want to take this section and export it as a standalone video and put it in our LMS or upload it to our YouTube channel. I'm going to clip to composition. And I can either create a new composition or add this to an existing one. I'm going to do a new one, clip. And you'll notice that that's automatically generated this composition just of this content here. And so now I can take this, I can add on my captions. So I'm going to highlight all, add my fancy captions, and move these down here. And so this is why getting your transcript as close to 100% accuracy is so important, because they're going to be reflected in your captions. And so from here, I can, if I go up to share, export, I can export just the transcript. I can export the audio or video only. So lots of different ways. We'll talk about this a little later on, is all of the ways you can get your material out of Descript. Jack, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think there's something really cool to this clip to composition or highlighting and copying highlights, is that you can take longer pieces of content and then now easily create a micro learning course or something. Maybe you just want to do a little audiogram to promote your internal podcast or something like that. There's so many ways that you can just start to creatively produce once you're in here. And you can keep things totally on brand. So let's say you need to add in a PowerPoint slide here or there. You can just slide that image right onto the track, or we talked about custom fonts a little bit earlier. And there's some great ways that you can start to make your content really sing in a number of different formats.
Absolutely. Actually, since you mentioned keeping things on brand, this is actually a really easy way of adding, whether it's a logo, an image, B-roll. All you have to do is, let's say I want a logo to persist through the entire duration of this video. I'm going to highlight all my text, and I'm going to find that logo that I want to add, and just drag it right on top, wait till it turns blue. And now I've got my logo here. I can resize it. I can move it around to wherever I want it. So you can do this with almost anything. And then you'll see that new track has been added down here in the timeline. And then that track will also be indicated with this little pin track here too.
And Harmony, what if I want to make my captions in my own company font?
Yeah, great question. So all you have to do is click on the track, or you can click on that pin track, open up the inspector here. And right now it's defaulting to Roboto, but if I click on that, you'll have some built-in fonts here, but there aren't a ton. So just select Add Fonts to Drive, and you'll have the option to either, it looks like my screen went away. There, it's back. You can either browse from Google Fonts, or if you already have the font on your machine, just drag it in, and it'll get added to your shared font library here. Did I cover that right, Jack? Anything else?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Is you can upload as many custom fonts as you want to. Again, we're talking about teams that are kind of only working in one, but maybe you're creating for a suite of different companies, so you can create different custom fonts or different fonts for different engagements. Yeah. Pretty soon, we're going to have some ability to turn these into more sophisticated templates. So that's another tease to get to using Descript now, because we've got even better features coming in the future. But I think there's a lot of great stuff that you can do to help make all of your content look not only sophisticated, professional, but you know how easy it was to create. You don't have to tell anybody. So I think there's a lot of things that you can do right in Descript that make it super easy, as opposed to creating complicated motion graphics or something like that.
Absolutely. And then while we're here too, we showed you how to do the clip to composition, but let's say Jack and I are tasked with going through, a bunch of back catalog content, and we need to kind of pick and choose what we're going to refresh and then repurpose it and then ship it out to our LMS. You can use the highlighting feature. So I could be going through this particular composition, highlighting things. We'll highlight this in yellow. Grab another section in, let's do exporting. Perfect. I'm going to highlight this in purple. And you can kind of use the colors for color coding too. So now if I go to my composition, I click on the ellipses here, I'm going to copy these highlights, and I can choose which highlights. So maybe like yellow is for professional development. Sand is for, let's say, online learning library content, whatever it is. I'm going to grab all highlights, and I'm going to create a new composition, and then I can just paste that right on in. And now I've just grabbed those highlighted sections. So really easy to go in and pull out important key concepts and repurpose them at a later time. Awesome. The other thing too, we haven't talked about, maybe we can chat a little bit about repurposing, adding like progress bars and any other features that I might have missed.
Yeah, no, I think this is really cool for, we talked about adding an image and adding custom fonts and things like that. But I know teams sometimes get asked with like, let's do some more creative stuff. Like let's take our podcast and turn it into a blog post or things like that. And I think there's so much interesting stuff that we can help you do. But one of my favorite ones is our social video clips. And we have so many neat built-in things here for waveforms, progress bars, things like that. Maybe we should show some of that off.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say I want to add a progress bar to this video that we've repurposed. And this is also a good opportunity to show that you can actually change the orientation of your video. So you can switch this from a landscape to a portrait to a square as well. So I'll leave it on portrait just so we can be in a different mode here. I'm going to highlight all of my text again, because we want these elements to last the entire duration of the video. Command K, and let's add our progress bar first. And okay, so that's down at the bottom, and I'm going to move this. I don't know, generally folks like to see this at the top or the bottom of their video. So I'm going to move it here, stretch it out. And I actually want to change the color of this. Let's make this a little bit more about blue.
Look at those gradients.
Look at these gradients. I know, this is super fun. I can add a shadow color. Let's see, we'll do fill. Let's see how this is looking.
Both desktop and full screen webcam recording.
Okay, so we see that's following along. Maybe I want to also add, I'm going to highlight all, Command K. Maybe I want to add a waveform. This is kind of fun. Let's see how this is looking. And let's do a line. Let's see how this is looking.
Simply click on the D icon here. And on Windows,
all right, so I can change the fidelity of this. Let's make this a little bit. And also change it to a ring, a circle, a wave. Move it around. Let's change this to white. So a lot of different kind of like fun ways you can change the look and feel of these. The other thing that you can add, let's see here. We have our captions. We have a logo that's been added. Am I missing anything, Jack?
There's also lots of different things that you can do with those progress bars. You can make them into circles. You can make these waveforms all different shapes and colors as well. So even if there's kind of more specific branded things that you'd like to do, you can do those. But I think the great thing is like you can make all this content look way different by using just the same tools over and over again. So you can experiment with a lot of different formats, or you can make a couple versions of the same thing. You can just duplicate your composition over there on the left sidebar, create a couple versions, run it by, your teammate, and then go whatever one likes the best.
Yeah, take a vote. Awesome. Let's see here. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say we should spend a few minutes talking about publishing after
Yes.
this. Now that we've created some of this content, but I want to take one moment to bring up a poll, because I want to bring up kind of our next poll question, because we're going to have some time for Q&A at the end, just for a second. But before we get into publishing, let's talk about what other editing tools your teams are using, or we'd love to know this as well, because it talks. Descript plays well with others in terms of timeline export and publishing and all these other things. So I like this question as a way to not only learn some more about you, but also kick off this conversation about the ways you can publish and the ways you can take your content out of Descript as well.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, looking forward to seeing how folks respond. But when you're ready, when it comes time to export, you're just going to click on Share again, and then select the Export tab. Jack, do you want to talk through some of these options here?
Yeah, I think there's so much that you can do here. Not only can you export in specific formats, so like a Word doc, which is great. Like I said, if you want to have fully accessible content, that's really useful. The ability to create SRTs and VTTs, so subtitles if you need to bring those into another video player. I've talked to some teams, and the way they create subtitles is really painful. It's so easy with Descript, so I would love to have all of y'all try that one out. Can obviously export audio files, video files. You can change your publishing settings as well to make sure they're the quality you want, and even create stuff like GIFs. So useful for like help center content if you need to just show a quick looping video of how something is done. So that's some of the kind of static publish options we have. Up in the top row there, the ability to publish to a web page right from Descript, to share.descript page.
I've got one I can show you guys if you want.
Yeah, is super, super useful, especially for collaboration. But I think the more important workflow that we see is you can embed these pages wherever you want.
Yeah, I love this. Well, I hear from teams that they'll embed these in like their SharePoint sites or intranets. And the nice thing is that when you play the content, it's going to follow along in the interactive transcript. And then, as Jack mentioned, if you're using these for like sending off to SMEs for review, they can actually just like comment right in here, leave a comment, and then you'll get that feedback right away. So take it away, Jack.
Yeah, and even these pages can be white labeled as well. So you can put your own company brand logo up in the top left corner there. And that's super useful. And I think the great thing about these pages too is that if you've got a lot of free Descript users in your organization, this is a great way to work with them. They can easily add comments at any time. But it's a little bit of a separate space from being inside the editor. So I think that's a good way. Maybe you need to work with some people on a share page and some people inside the editor, and those two surface areas can be really useful if you know how to use them together.
Absolutely. And then there's a few more options here. You can create. We've got these audiogram templates, which are super fun. There's some options here. I don't have any text selected, but you can. There we go. These are really nice, the little social teasers. You can also export directly to your YouTube channel. So this kind of removes that extra step of having to upload. This will start that process in the background. And then you can also export to, let's say if you use Wistia for hosting, easy way to export it out directly to those different systems.
Yeah, or even something like Castos, which is great for internal podcasts as well. So there's a lot of different built-in options we have. We also just introduced some new features with some partners of ours. Riverside, Squadcast, Captivate, and Restream, where you can create content there and bring it directly into Descript with one click. So we just had a great event about that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, check out that last webinar for that because there's so many cool workflows that you can go from remote recording into Descript and then publish right to your internal intranet. So great ways to take an interview and put it into something that everybody can then see and use.
Absolutely. And I know we're getting towards the end. So for folks that, are getting started and they might need some help as they ramp up, if you click on this little question mark down here, this is a way for you to access our help center, which has a ton of useful material. You can contact us live. We have an amazing support team that will be able to answer your questions right away, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific via the chat. So lots of resources here. And I think we actually have a code that we're going to be sharing shortly for new users to be able to redeem an offer for us, for your team to try out Descript for 30 days.
Yeah, and I think this is, if you're thinking, how can I use this? How can I build this in? Try this free month. This is a great way to test out with your whole team, see the difference between features and feature sets. The great thing about collaboration features is there's very little difference between the free plan and the pro plan. So you can test out the pro plan features with your editing team, also invite some free collaborators and see for yourself. Work with comments, work with timeline export, work with all those things that we know L&D teams like to use it for. And there's a great way to do it right there.
Nice. Wonderful. And yeah, keep throwing questions in. Jack and I are going to hang around for a few more minutes. But as we mentioned at the beginning of the call, please join our Discord community. I love seeing how much our users can learn from one another. So talk to other L&D teams, how they're leveraging a tool like Descript and other tools that bring their workflow together. So yeah, please join our community there and give us feedback too.
Yeah, we have a bunch of good stuff that you can learn not only in Discord but also in this learning center as well, about ways to use it. Our YouTube channel, super useful. This will be published on YouTube, so keep that in mind if you need to go back and see something specific. But yeah, here's our help center right now. This is our YouTube channel. There we are. We're live. But we introduced this great new series called Descript Tips. And this is just little bitty clips showing you how to use one specific feature. They're really simple, really easy, and hilarious as well. Laura and Tiff, our video producers, are awesome, so creative. So I love this stuff.
Amazing. And Jack, we have an event coming up on June 30th. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, another upcoming event about shareable social video clips. So we talked about this a little bit for L&D. But I think this is super useful for, maybe you've got your podcast and you want to turn it into a new format, or maybe you've got a webinar and you want to make something snackable for people as a teaser, or you're repurposing something from a couple of months ago and want to kind of get another boost and get people to engage with your content. Shareable video is an amazing way to do that. And I think something, like I said, L&D teams I know are being tasked with creating sometimes too.
Absolutely. And the last thing I want to mention too is we're going to be following up with everyone that signed up for today and joined. So we're going to be sending a follow-up email. We're going to be providing links to our calendars so that you all can book time with us, so that you can ensure that you're making the most out of your experience in Descript and feeling empowered in the system. So we'll be reaching out shortly, making our calendars available, and please book some time with us. We're excited to learn more from you. Yeah,
for sure. And if you've got a question or something like that, obviously you can write into our support right through the live chat in the app, or send us an email. I'm Jack at Descript.com, Harmony at Descript.com. It's pretty easy to figure out. You spend an hour with us. Hopefully you don't mind spending some more. But yeah, we love meeting teams, chatting about their workflows and the different ways that we can help you power up. I think there's a lot that we can do.
Well, with that, I think, Jack, what do you think? Lunchtime?
I think so. Yeah, my dog's scratching at the door, so I'm ready to go for a walk. So I'm gonna I'd say we wrap it there, and we really look forward to chatting with all of you. So looking forward to our conversations, chatting through your workflows and getting to know you. Redeem your free month, rewatch this, and we're excited for the next round of conversations. So Harmony, thanks for spending the time with me today.
You too, Jack, and happy birthday.
Oh my gosh, yeah, on my age every day. So thanks, y'all. Have a good one.
Bye.